And KD will still be playing 48 minutes a game. I'm
anyway.
sorry, Wells. I'm jumping on the Kyrie hate bandwagon. I shouldn't do that.
I'm not even hating on him. I'm just speaking facts. I'm just saying, they're the all street clothes team. It was what it is.
You're wrong.
The all street clothes team. Wow.
Yeah, that better make the
hatred is real.
There's got to be a season between them where I played more games than either one. I mean, I'm just saying. But anyway.
Oh my God. Oh wow.
So the hatred is real.
It's not hate.
Whoa.
It's
Whoa.
I can't help it if truth is hard to take. So anyway.
Oh my goodness. The Gucci roster, the designer suit roster.
She said there gotta be season where I played more games.
It's a college.
I mean, they need to invest in some good suits. That's all I'm saying. But anyway.
I mean, he's not Greg Oden, man. You got Kyrie working at the Waffle House already.
Listen, no, I'm not saying he's washed up. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying he has not played a full season in his career.
Oh, God.
That's all.
Kyrie ain't ready for the Waffle House.
Maybe in high school. Maybe, but not his 1 year at Duke and not in the NBA.
Man.
But anyway, yeah.
The Nets reactivating Kyrie. What about that?
Who?
The Nets reactivating Kyrie.
Right.
Part-time, of course, right?
Let's talk about that for a second, Werls.
You talk. I'm not saying anything else about it.
I mean, yeah, you was clowning that man in his street clothes, him and AD, the all-star street clothes team.
Let's talk about the all street clothes team, but no, let's talk about
give me a headache, man.
Let's talk about Kyrie coming back to the Nets and not playing home games, but still being able to play.
I mean, do you want me to kick it off, or you want to say so? All right.
I really want Werls to kick it off. Definitely.
I mean,
then we can both attack you.
I mean, you want to know what's funny about that? Because I'm going to be hard for you guys to attack me, because I'm about to point out the blatant hypocrisy that everybody in the sports world has shown. Number one, I thought that they really had no choice to do that because, as we said, you guys mentioned, KD was playing absurd amount of minutes.
Yeah.
With James Harden being pretty much an old shelf of himself, now being at the all-star level. Now he has been playing great because KD and Kyrie were in protocol. They just cleared that. But, they had no choice to do that. And I'm happy that they brought him back because of the current situation that stands with New York's mandate. So I was like, hey, listen, Kyrie, you know what? We're in win now mode. We don't care what the outside thinks. We're in the business of the Brooklyn Nets. And the Brooklyn Nets is a sports team. And as a sports team, we're trying to win a championship. And guess what? In the city of Brooklyn, or the town of Brooklyn, the borough of Brooklyn, when you win a championship and they got that, trophy in the suit in the top of their organization and office, fans are going to forget about that. Now, in terms of the hypocrisy that all the media personnel have portrayed, I wrote down some notes here. So Shannon Sharp, who's one of the most known sports commentators out there, he's on the show with Skip Bayless, you guys know, Undisputed. When Kyrie was sidelined and the Nets announced that they will not bring him on until he becomes a full participant because of New York's vaccine mandate, October 12th, 2021, Undisputed, Shannon Sharp said, and I quote, "Now you know, Kyrie, when you get vaccinated and make sacrifices like everybody else has made, we will walk."
Okay.
He only got two options, vaccine or trade. Hold on. Imagine, and then he also said, imagine you get hired for a job, you work at for a year. All of a sudden, you tell your boss, I'm only going to work half the year, but I still want you to pay me. Then Then he also said this on October 14th, 2 days after. Can you imagine giving Kyrie 4 years guaranteed at almost $200 million? He's going to come and go as he please. Something else might come up and he wants to I believe what to say. He wants to fight for that cause because of Kyrie's vaccine stance. Now, to when Kyrie was brought back to the team, Shannon Sharp said this and asked Shannon Sharp, what do you think of Brooklyn's decision? I don't have a problem with it. Sounds like a different tone to me. The Nets are in the business to win a championship, not to be the morale compass of COVID. I wish Kyrie would get vaccinated, but that's not where we are. Excuse me. Blah, blah, blah. They said they have a very finite window in which order to do what they put this team together, and that's to win a championship. Same thing with Kendrick Perkins when they brought Kyrie back, and I have this in my notes as well. Kendrick Perkins said this, I'd rather have Kyrie part-time than no time. But then he said this 2 months ago in October, if you put Kyrie's brain in a bird, it will fly backwards. So I just wanted to know what was all of a sudden the backtrack and the flipping and the hypocrisy when the Nets say, hey, listen, Kyrie, we're not going to bring you on until you become a full-time member, to when it's like, hey, listen, we're going to bring Kyrie back. Oh, yeah, I'll support the decision. The Nets on the business with a championship. Whoa.
Well,
what's the switch up all of a sudden?
Listen, I'm not here to attest to the hypocrisy, as you call it, of the journalists, sports journalists, but I will say that the optics overall of an organization, professional sports team, saying we're going to stand by CDC recommendations, mandates, and all that such, or whatever, and we want our entire team vaccinated, and then to turn around and say, well, our hardship factor, because we're losing players to health and safety protocols, means that we're going to bring him back and we'll just have him play, anywhere but home. When when they started off, saying we're not going to have a part-time player, he has to be with the team full-time or not. I think the optics of that is really the bigger issue, at least to me. Because what precedent are you setting? What are you displaying? Are you suddenly saying that, yeah, winning is, of course, is important. You put the team together to win. You play the games to win. But you're either going to stick by what you call government mandates and regulation and recommendations, or you're not. Right. So I don't really care, no disrespect to Mr. Sharp. I really don't care what he said, how he flip-flopped, or Kendrick Perkins. I'm saying the optics overall, and kind of fugazi, in my opinion.
Okay, but to give you some pushback, going to what the CDC said, now they've shortened isolation times from 10 days to 5 days for asymptomatic players
who are vaccinated.
Especially the NFL. Okay, but same thing. NFL adopted that same protocol for vaccinated and unvaccinated players. NBA adopted the same thing too. So if you're asymptomatic, they shorten isolation from 10 days to 5 days, which is supposed to be called the winter of death because flu cases are going up, COVID cases are going up drastically. So you have a time where we're supposed to listen to the Center for Disease Control's guidelines and protocols. When they've kind of gone back in their protocols, we have COVID cases jumping up like crazy to say, hey, guess what? You know what? 10 days isolation. No, let's go back to 5, which we all know because companies were having labor workers shortage. But that's besides the point. But we all know that when you are a star elite level talent, like a Kyrie Irving, you get special treatment. Not everybody is going to get special treatment like Kevin Durant does. We know. And I know this because I have inside information. They made this decision when they consulted Kevin Durant and James Harden. Kevin Durant said, you know what? Bring him back on. Joe Theismann, who's the owner, I got to bring Kyrie back because KD has been playing insane amount of minutes. And Steve Nash said it best. That's unsustainable for a guy who's 33, came off an Achilles injury less than 2 years ago. So the team, if you really want to say is a bad precedent, blame the Brooklyn Nets for that, which I feel like you are. But let's not blame. I know, but let's not blame Kyrie because I've seen him. No. I'm saying now, I'm saying that's what I've seen these other sports analysts when they made that decision. They was like, okay, let's attack Kyrie because of his stance or his status. But I was like, oh, well, you know what? Hey, Brooklyn made this decision. I'm all for it. Whoa, that's why I have the issue in terms of the hypocrisies at because you praise the same organization for making that decision, but when they went back on their word because they are in need of players, because half their rosters in protocol, now all of a sudden you want to praise them. That's the issue I don't like about that.
Well,
and we gotta have something be consistent throughout
no,
keeping
I
100.
agree, but it's the Nets that it's their inconsistency. I don't care what other journalists say because they're just reporting whatever's at the top of the news feed, whatever's that is going to bring them an audience and more attention. I'm talking about the Nets and the organization flip-flopping the way they are. Every team in the NBA, I think as of this recording, every team except the Utah Jazz has had players out because of health and safety protocols and COVID.
Pretty much.
And it's inevitable. They're going to get it. Even the coach, Quinn Snyder, said so. But everybody has hardships. Everybody's going through it. Everybody's calling up the G League players. You have all these 40 and 50-year-old ex-NBA players calling, trying to.
We might get signed to a 10.
I mean, and it's like,
Johnson.
I just, I'm like, why is that? Why is every other team capable to say, okay, you know what, we'll sign some players to 10 days, we'll sign some players on hardship contracts, whatever the case may be able to take advantage of expanding the roster, but that's not good enough for certain teams to do because you have an elite player that, you already set a precedent, and now you're saying, well, no, forget about the precedent that we set. We just want to win, so we're going to bring this guy back and play at least for when he can play. When you have a G League affiliated team anyway, just like everybody else in the league, you know what I mean? That's just my stance on it. I just have a problem with that hypocrisy. I don't care what other sports journalists say.
But they also do feed into the narrative and the fan base, because a lot of people who watch sports watch First Take, watch Undisputed, watch The Herd, watch Speak for Yourself. So and these fans continue to feed into the narrative of that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of fans who are like, "Oh man, yeah, I want to see Kyrie. Even if I gotta leave town and go see him on the road, I want them to win more games." Of course, fans are gonna feel that way. Diehard fans are gonna feel that way. I don't begrudge anybody that. Fan is short for fanatic. Of course, that's what's gonna happen. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that when you look at the big picture, you have to pick a lane. You can't pick what's convenient at the time. And I think that's what the Nets are doing.
Well, we just know that they had no choice but to make that decision that they did because of the current mandate that exists. But go ahead, Kaine.
I mean, I have more of a, it's more of a question. I mean, the whole thing is a political football, because with that, between this and the CDC's announcement, I was just talking to Liz about this just yesterday. Like, the whole thing is going to turn into a point where it's like the people that are anti-vax or, have questions about the vaccination and can be like, see, I knew, and I'm like, okay, so that's the political side of things, which I really don't get too much into, as you know. But my feeling is, like, how much of an impact is Kyrie really going to have playing half the game? It's like as if he's injured half the season. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, that's different. Anyway, go on. He should be used to it.
That's a serious question, but I should have expected that. That's different. You know what I mean? But, like, all right. So say he was injured half the remaining season. What would be the Nets' chances of holding on to the one seed in the playoffs? You know what I mean? I think that'd be an issue. So to me, it's like bringing him back part-time. We can kick the political stuff aside and just say, like, how much of an impact is it going to have? So, like, it's like, in my opinion, they turned themselves into hypocrites. And in a practical sense, it wasn't for much of a reason, because you're only getting them for half the remaining season. You know what I mean?
And making the playoffs also means that they would, if they hold on to where they are, they're going to have home court advantage in every round, and he won't be there for those 4 games.
So the home games in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it's like, you want to put Werls, you want to put the Nets up against the Suns or the Warriors, either or, without Kyrie for half of the games in the playoffs?
Yeah, no.
That don't sound good to me.
Yeah,
KD's already got a million miles on him. By the time the playoffs are here, his knees going to be swollen up the size of my head. You know what I mean? So Kyrie is not going to help much in the playoffs.
Well, here is 2 I wouldn't call them conspiracy theories, but thought process that went with Brooklyn bringing back Kyrie. First thought, and I talked to a close source in this, they think that with Kyrie being around his teammates, because when you're in a sports environment and you play away games, that gives you more time to bond with your teammates because you're with them on the road. You guys are eating together. You guys in the same hotel. They think that him being around his teammates for the road games is going to create more of a bondness and might convince him to eventually get vaccinated to fulfill New York City's mandate. And again, you only need one dose. You know, that's besides the point of how I think that doesn't make any sense. But nonetheless, that's what it is. So that's one thought. Another reason, which somebody told me within the organization, which I don't think that makes any sense. They think that, okay, we're going to bring him back. So he's going to play a little bit and that's going to upgrade his trade value, which Brooklyn could use to trade him and get back a piece. And one team one player that I heard that they could bring back is Kyrie for a Westbrook trade. That's not going to happen. That makes no sense because number one, Kevin Durant's not having that. Okay. Sean Marks is not doing that trade. Bro, KD left Russell Westbrook from OKC to go to Golden State. You think he wants to play with them again? He's not trying to ride OKC Big 3 Part 2. Like, come on.
Listen, this just speaks to the fact that think about how many teams Russ has been on since OKC.
Yeah.
Okay. And it has not worked out to the point where now there's a rumor that he's gone so far that he's going to circle back to exactly. Teammates.
Exactly. When I heard that, I said that literally makes no sense. And it was like, well, we could do a Kyrie for Ben Simmons. I don't think that Kyrie from Ben Simmons will match up either or. I don't know. That's just, again, another rumor that's been out there. It's like, well, we could use that to upgrade his trade value. Then they would trade him before the trade deadline and get back a valuable piece. But from what I've been told, again, everything's got to go through Kevin Durant and James Harden. KD's not going. They are the GMs. Kevin Durant, KD and James are not going to let Kyrie be traded. That's for a fact. I can tell you that right now. That's not going to happen. So I could really only see the first option is like, hey, he's around his teammates. Like, you know what, guys, I'll get the one shot, fulfill the requirements, and he'll play every single game that's eligible. That's the only reason I could see from what I've been told from inside sources. But again, that's far-fetched. We'll see what happens with that towards the season. But go ahead, Kaine, if I interrupted you.
No, that was pretty much my question. I was trying to figure out the practical reasons because it doesn't even make sense financially in the sense that, I guess, yeah, you get what you pay for. Like, at least if he's playing 50% of the games, they can, you know what I mean? Like, the contract makes sense. Like, if he's out the whole year, that's kind of dumb. But the fact is that the owners in New York aren't getting the financial benefit of him playing at home. Like, that financial benefit is going to every other team now because did you say it earlier? Like, people will travel to see Kyrie. You know what I mean? Like, I want him to go play against the Suns because, that's going to be a great financial boom for the Suns.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody's benefiting but Brooklyn.
Here's another theory. Do you guys think that the new mayor, once he officially takes office in January, do you think he lifts the mandate and allows Kyrie to play? Because look, hold on, we all know
because of Kyrie. I don't think.
No, but you got to remember though, because what's his new name again? I forgot.
Eric Adams.
Eric Adams. Remember, he came out and said, "Well, we're gonna keep the mandate as is." But as we all know, politicians lie every second of every day of their teeth. So he could possibly come in because there had to been a reason for the Nets to legitimately make this move. It's like, we're going to bring back a player that we could only know he could play part-time, unless that they know something down the line is going to happen to make him full-time. Again, I laid out the option. Okay, but I don't know the reason.
Conspiracy right there.
But
the
again,
owners of the Knicks are conspiring with the man.
They probably conspire.
Came from the grassy knoll.
They probably say, "Hey, listen, we got Kyrie. When you take an office, take off that mandate, let him play full time." That could happen, especially with an owner like Joe. He has power in New York City now. Let's not be ignorant to that.
He has power in New York City, but he doesn't have the point where he's going to make a mayor lift a mandate for 8 million people just for the sake of one player on a sports team.
Kyle, do you not know the expression "money talks"?
Do you really think that an incoming mayor is going to put his reputation on the line just for the sake of making Brooklyn Nets fans happy?
Again, do you not know the old expression "money talks"?
That's a hell of a conspiracy theory.
You know what talks worse? Like catastrophe. You let people go pack up, you know what I mean, arena in Brooklyn and let it be like, oh, well, the anti-vaxxers that don't even follow basketball are going to flood in there because he's lifted the mandates, right? You know what I mean? In a practical sense here now. And then, you know what I mean, like COVID is worse against the unvaccinated as of right now, you know what I mean, for all the information I've seen. So now you got what, 20,000 people, like just running around.
Come on, one and all, everyone. All over each other.
Like you got 20,000.
It's okay. We're here to see Kyrie.
Hey, guess what?
You know what I mean? Like you can't. You know, I just don't see that. Like that's a disaster waiting to happen. You know what I mean?
What about the disaster going on in the league where like all their teams got hit by health and safety protocols and 90% of them are all vaxxed? That's not a disaster right now when actually there's been games being postponed. As Kyle, you mentioned, they got to go to the G League and sign guys. Hell, they're going off the street to sign guys for 10-day contracts. They could sign us next. I'm waiting for a call from the Knicks right now.
Okay. The only problem with that line of thinking is that, yeah, like you said, everyone's going through, all the NBA teams are going through hardship, and they're calling up players from their G League affiliated teams, calling back players out of retirement and the Big Three League and all that stuff and everything. But listen, at the end of the day, it's not the same thing as a city's incoming, brand new mayor lifting a mandate just for the sake of one team's prosperity by adding a player that refuses to be vaccinated. That's two totally different conversations, two totally different scenarios. And, the Nets could call up people just like anybody else. Patty Mills is balling his ass off right now. They don't even need Kyrie in that sense. He's like number 3 in the league in three-point shooting or something like that. I mean,
What would you rather have to win the championship? Kyrie Irving or Patty Mills?
Well,
better play.
But again, how much of a factor is he going to be in the championship if you're going to play half the game?
That's why I'm going back to. There had to be, again, I don't know the reason yet, but if you know that you're bringing back a player who's a superstar, it's like, okay, we're going to make this decision to bring him back, knowing he could only play half games. There's got to be another reason behind closed doors that we don't know. Like, we have to be smart about this. Because it's like, like you said, Game 7, if they got home court advantage, they facing the Golden State Warriors. Game 7, Kyrie Irving can't play. Then you're just like, well, damn, we just brought you back and we lost at the final game, at the final buzzer, and we didn't have you out there guarding Steph or guarding Clay. Like, there's stuff that behind closed doors that happens in the NBA, that happens in any professional business environment that we don't know. So there had to have been a legitimate reason. It's like, okay, we're going to make this call if we see in the future that he will either be eligible to play full-time games. Again, I don't know what that is. That's just what I've been heard. But we got to be realistic about it. Could that be an option? Because you already, like I said, I'm not trying to, mix, sports with politics. But
please don't.
Well, hey, they've been doing. Listen, they've been doing that for the past year with the whole vaccine mandate. So we don't have to do none of that.
We wouldn't be talking about this if Kyrie wasn't a superstar player. That's the thing that gets me about it. You know what I mean?
Like with Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal was unvaxxed, and he was in Washington. Nobody really talked about him until he got his first dose the other day.
The whole thing is about a statement. Now, I don't know. I just don't know, to go to both you and Kyle's point, I don't know what statement the Nets are trying to make here. You know what I mean? Because it felt like to me they were operating more on principle than anything else before. But now it's all about winning games. But you knew you were going to run the risk of losing some games when you sat him down the first time. So what's changed? So I will give you that. Something has to have changed that they know that we don't. You know what I mean?
Thank you. That's all I'm trying to say.
I'll give you
something. They had to have at least some type of knowledge, because we have to think about this. You would not bring a player back. No, he cannot play full-time games unless you got word of like, hey, we gonna make this happen. Blah blah. Something's gonna happen, or give him some type of exemption, whatever it could be, to be like, all right, Kyrie, you know what? We're gonna bring you back. Something had to be said to them.
At the end of the day, you know what I mean? Like, the Nets sit at number 1 in the East. In the East. You know what I mean? They can't come out west out there with that, without Kyrie. You know what I mean? In the playoffs. You know what I mean? The championship game. It's not gonna. You know what I mean? Like, whether it's the Suns or the Warrior, whoever. You know what I mean? They're gonna have their hands full. They need Kyrie. They need all hands on deck against the West. You know what I mean? The East is just traditionally not as deep as the West. So you can't You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see them going even. That number one isn't going to stand if they don't do something soon. You know what I mean? They're going to, I see them dropping further and further down, and they brought Kyrie back. Well, I don't know whether it was a desperation play or whether it's wishful thinking or whether they have information we don't have. I don't know. I give you that. I don't have that information because none of it makes sense to me. That's why I asked to start.
Maybe it's all three. But I just as a side note, you know, don't sleep on Patty Mills. He is a championship player also. He may have been Tony Parker's backup at the time, but he can hold his own. So,
fair enough. My thing about, and it's no disrespect to Patty Mills at all. I'm actually a fan, but my thing is that, you know what I mean, how long is KD going to be able to go at this pace? You know what I mean? Yeah. And would Patty Mills be able to carry the team? You know what I mean? Without Kyrie, you know, like Kyrie can carry a team. You know what I mean? I don't know if Patty Mills can he? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
no, he can't. Listen, Patty Mills is a great role player, but he's not a superstar player that you could just be like, hey, we're going to give you the ball. Take us to the promised land. Like Kyrie's capable of doing that. KD, James are capable of doing that.
You said KD.
Did he do that when he first came in the league with Cleveland?
Who?
Kyrie?
No,
but did you not see the 2016 finals?
I was going to say
who was there? Who was there at that point?
LeBron, but who hit the shot?
Oh, right.
But who hit the shot?
That's not the point. The point is that
what do you mean?
That's no. Getting a shot off is one thing. Yeah, you get a shot, but the game was on the line and you get a winning shot. Yes, I give him that. But we're not talking about a player carrying a team or a player making a winning shot, a game-winning shot. That's two different conversations.
I'm talking about, hey, give us the ball and take us to the promised land.
Okay,
Kyrie has done that.
If you're already there, if you're already in the land, and you need that one shot,
but you're making this. You're making it seem like Kyrie was
that team. He did not carry the Cleveland Cavaliers to the finals by himself.
So his 41 points in Game 6
he was not a winning player until LeBron got there.
Would you concede the point, whether he's done it or not in the past? Would you concede the point that he is, as far as talent, capable of doing it?
Of course, he's capable. He's capable now, I think, but it's not. You can't argue that he's been that all his career. He hasn't. That's what.
No, I can't say that, but I mean, I can say I will agree that he's capable.
Because
that's the word that Werls used that stopped me from getting. You know what I mean? He was like, he said he's capable. You know what I mean? And I agree. You know what I mean? I agree. Kylie has the capability of doing that. So is that what their hope is? That by the time the playoffs come around,
if you take away KD and James Harden now, would Kyrie keep them in the number one spot? If all things were changed and he was vaccinated, he was able to play all games, and it was just him and everybody else there, including Patty Mills, with no James Harden and no KD, do you think that they would? You think that he would carry them to the quote unquote promised land?
No, but you could say the same thing. But you could say the same thing if you take away Kyrie and James and only had KD, or if you take away KD and Kyrie only had James. No,
right?
Because that team is not deep enough for them to carry them to the promised land.
Okay,
exactly. You know. But I'm talking about, but like if we know we've seen Kyrie in big moments, he can deliver.
Talking about somebody that can carry a team.
But not just winning, but clutch. Who have hit clutch shots? 2016 Christmas Day against Golden State. Who hit the clutch shot to beat Golden State? He did. 2017 Christmas Day, 2016 NBA Finals. Who hit the clutch shot to win the championship? He did. So Kyrie has been in those situations like, hey, we're gonna give you the ball, take us to the promised land. That's what I mean in terms of
they got to make it to the finals.
Promised land.
Make it to the finals first, and then have home court advantage, so that he has If they have home court advantage, they're going to be playing 3 games at home. So he won't have a chance to make a winning shot. You know what I mean?
Unless it's going to have to be on the road.
So now we got to, you know what I mean? Now the spread has become, 6 games to, I'm sorry, 4 games? They'd have to do 3. They'd have to win 3 out of the first 4. Because if they go back to the other team's court for game 7, right? They have to win at 4 out of 2.
And that's only if you're talking about making it to the finals. That's only if at the end of the day they have a better record than the team they're facing out west.
Because
otherwise they still won't have. He'd still be starting out on
Or
one or the other.
you know what else could be a reason why there's like, okay, since KD has been playing crazy amount of minutes, they're gonna use the road games to play KD. Like, all right, KD, you're gonna play 20 something minutes a game. Kyrie, you're gonna play 38. James, you're gonna play 38. That could be another reason. It's like, all right, we legit got to give this 7-foot monster a rest.
That actually makes more sense than any other argument so far. But
but again, I'm happy Kyrie's back.
Should have never been.
He should have never been he should have never been
the president of the Kyrie Irving fan club national.
Hey, listen, I'd rather be a president of the Kyrie club than the president of the Knicks club. Have you seen how they've been playing lately?
I'm not going to argue anything about the Knicks. The people that know me know that I'm a loyal fan regardless, and I'm not a bandwagon jumper, so I'm okay with that.
Hey, are you saying I'm a bandwagon? I'm not a bandwagon.
Yeah, because you said you used to be a Knicks fan, and now because you got tired of what they were doing, you went and jumped to the Nets.
Correction. I used to be a Knicks fan when we had Melo. How they treated Carmelo Anthony while he was there was a disrespect, which made me not be a Knicks fan anymore.
Okay,
that's why I stopped.
Look, like being a fan means fan in good times and bad anyway. But I don't know, like that the Nets are a shoe-in even with Kyrie playing half the game. Like there are 4 teams in the West with a better record than the Nets right now.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There it is.
That's your mic drop moment.
Next topic.
Hey, we still got about 60-something games left, 50-something games left into the season. I just know that. Well, let's see who's in the West. Well, I mean, if we face the Lakers in the finals, we know who's winning that.
They don't have a better record than the Nets. Nobody's talking about the Lakers.
That's a fever dream right there. You must still be ill.